Next, let's talk about defining your goals. What is it that you're actually trying to achieve? Most people will say, I want to get a new job, I want new clients, I want media exposure, I want to speak on big stages. Whatever it is, you know inherently what your personal goals are. So first identify that so you know the reason that you're doing it. But beyond that, going back to what we were saying earlier about selfish versus selfless content. When I ask most people, what are your goals when it comes to social media? Most people say this: I want to become an influencer. Now, if you're thinking about it from that point of view, you're probably thinking about it from the wrong perspective. Unless you look like one of these young ladies. I instead go on the other side, and I agree with what Gary Vee says. He says, give value, give value, give value, and then ask for business. The problem with most people when they're posting on social media is they go straight for asking for business. They go straight for asking for a job or for that, media exposure, whatever it is that they want. They go straight for it without providing any value. So I always use this analogy of debit versus credit when it comes to relationships. Obviously, the more you give, the more you can expect in return. Going back to reciprocity in the previous lesson. So you want to be able to give as much possible. But value is such a broad term. How do we actually define giving value? So I break it up into what I call the 3 E's. You ideally want to be educating your audience. You want to either be entertaining them, or you want to be engaging them. Now, you can do all three, but it's usually pretty tough. I usually focus on entertaining because as a marketing professor and someone who enjoys sharing what I'm learning, I focus on the education portion. If it's entertaining, well, that's a bonus. So these are the things I look at when I'm trying to develop content. Is it educational, entertaining, or engaging? If it's none of these, once again, probably goes back to, is it selfish content? If so, it's fine, but we want to reduce that to 20% of our overall content we share. So maybe I can quickly share how I became a B2b influencer. So when I first started my social media journey, I used to put in my headline, this is so embarrassing now, but I'd put social media guru. And the problem with that is no one actually believed me. Why? Because I wasn't doing any of the 3 E's. I was essentially pushing out content about myself, which no one cared about. So when I made the shift and I started creating content around a specific category, which is B2B marketing, and I started showing people about my expertise, about my knowledge, that's when the doors and the opportunities really came in, whether it was speaking opportunities or writing opportunities or even new clients. So once again, I faced a rough road early on because I went about it like everybody else did. I said, look, I'm a guru. You should buy my courses. You should do all these things. At the end of the day, nobody really cared. But once I started thinking about it from the audience's point of view and say, okay, how can I educate them as much as possible, do it in an entertaining way, and hopefully engage them, bring them in part of the conversation, then that's when things really, really turned around and I really got started being recognized as a B2B influencer. So once again, in the subsequent sessions, I'm going to be sharing a breakdown of how you can give value. We'll talk about examples of educational, entertaining, and engaging content so you can start doing that with your audience.